Welcome to my channel. I'm Deborah Gray. I'm a journalist and I cover a variety of socio-political and human rights issues. Now, in case you're wondering why I am so made up today, it is because I want to tackle the concept of stereotypes, specifically gender stereotypes. In the past, when I've gone out wearing this blue lipstick, some people have asked me if I'm transgender, and while I wasn't offended, it made me acutely aware of how people of different genders, people who are not cisgender, are sometimes unwittingly associated with certain stereotypes. And I personally don't think it is fair to stereotype anyone: man, woman, transgender, non binary, genderqueer person. It is a whole spectrum. That is why I want to discuss the Indian Supreme Court's newly released Handbook on Combating Gender Stereotypes. Now, if you've been watching my videos on marriage equality, you would know that the Indian Supreme Court has reserved its verdict in the case. But I think this handbook that has been released in August 2023 will go a long way in helping not only the legal community but also Indians in general understand and appreciate gender diversity, have more conversations, understand concepts like sex and sexuality, how they are different, and most importantly, realize that it's not fair to slot someone, to put them in a silo. Gender is fluid, at least that's what I believe, and I think we could all benefit from having a look at this handbook. It is available on the Indian Supreme Court's website. I'll put a link in the description, but for now, let's dive right in. It has a foreword by Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India, in which he eloquently tells us how this handbook will help foster a culture of greater justice and equality. He says, and I quote, "Even when the use of stereotypes does not alter the outcome of a case, stereotypical language may reinforce ideas contrary to our constitutional ethos. Language is critical to the life of the law. Words are the vehicle through which values of the law are communicated. Words transmit the ultimate intention of the lawmaker or the judge to the nation." End quote. He clarifies, and I quote, "The intention is not to criticize or cast doubt on past judgments, but merely to show how stereotypes may unwittingly be employed." End quote. A lot of these stereotypes are born out of our long-standing or traditional beliefs about gender roles. So how exactly does the handbook tackle these? It starts with a glossary of gender unjust terms and offers alternative words or phrases which may be used while drafting pleadings as well as orders and judgments. It also suggests doing away with terms like adulteress, affair, bastard, and concubine, and refer clearly to relationships outside of marriage and child produced as a result of such a relationship. Finally, in a welcome relief for survivors of sexual assault, it says, and I quote, "An individual who has been affected by sexual violence may identify themselves either as a survivor or victim. Both terms are acceptable unless the individual has expressed a preference, in which case the individual's preference should be respected." End quote. The handbook goes on to explain how many stereotypes are subconscious and pertain not only to gender but also to caste and economic class. Now, if you remember, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud was trolled mercilessly during the marriage equality hearings when he tried to make a distinction between biological sex and gender. This book tackles those very concepts in greater detail. It says, and I quote, "While sex refers to the biological attributes of individuals, gender refers to socially constructed roles, behaviors, expressions, and identities of girls, women, boys, men, and gender diverse individuals." End quote. It further says, "Gender identity is not limited to a binary, girl/woman and boy/man, but rather exists on a spectrum and can evolve over time." End quote. The handbook says, and I quote, "Further, gender is a social construct and includes the norms, behaviors, and roles associated with a particular gender identity." End quote. Finally, it recognizes, and I quote, an individual's gender identity profoundly influences self-perception, interpersonal dynamics, and the distribution of power and resources in society. End quote. Now, there's a lot of excellent content in this handbook, and one video cannot do justice to it, so I'll be making a series of videos. In the meantime, I would suggest you go and check out the handbook yourself. I'll put a link in the description. Overall, I think it's a step in the right direction because it will help us, not just the legal community, but Indian society as a whole, to approach the concept of gender justice in a more compassionate and empathetic way. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.